Subchapter 4.4 Cooling Load Components. As stated previously, cooling load estimation is done by determining the space heat gain. There are two major sources that contributed to the heat gain. They are external sources and internal sources. These sources of heat gain can be in the form of sensible heat and latent heat. For sensible heat, it is the heat that you can feel or sense. This type of heat is produced without the presence of the moisture, which is phase change. Meanwhile, latent heat is the heat that is being produced with the presence of the moisture as a result from phase change. In MEC351 thermodynamics, you already been introduced to phase change processes of pure substance, which is liquid vapor substance. The example given previously is piston cylinder device that is filled with liquid vapor substance, and the piston cylinder device will receive heat throughout the process. The phase change processes can be presented to this TV diagram. The dome shape representing the saturated liquid and saturated vapor line. This region representing the liquid region. Meanwhile, this region is the vapor region, and the region lies under the dome shape is the mixture region. From the example of the piston cylinder device that receiving heat, we can have this curve where the pressure is constant. At state 1, it is compressed liquid or subcooled liquid. State 2 is the saturated liquid. Note that at state 1 and state 2, they are 100% liquid. State 4 is the saturated vapor, and state 5 it is superheated vapor. Note that state 4 and 5 are in 100% vapor. Meanwhile, at state 3, it is saturated liquid vapor mixture. In this phase, part of it are in liquid phase and part of it are in vapor phase. This curve was obtained as the result of the substance receiving heat. For process 1 to 2, we can say that it received sensible heat. Same goes to the process 4 to 5. This is due to temperature change during the processes. Meanwhile, for process 2 to 4, we can say that it received latent heat. Since the phase now changed from 100% liquid to 100% vapor, during the phase change process, the temperature will remain constant. Now let's have a look at the external sources for heat gain. It includes conduction, which comes from exterior walls, roof, and glass. It can also be contributed by interior partitions, ceilings, and floors. Another external sources is solar radiation through the glass of our design space. External sources for heat gain also includes infiltration of outside air and the ventilation of outside air. The internal sources for heat gain includes occupants, lighting, electrical and electronic equipments, and mechanical devices, which is part of the air conditioning system such as fans and blowers. For your information, different type of heat source may contribute to different form of heat. We know that there are two forms of heat, which is sensible heat and latent heat. Sensible heat will contribute to the increment of the temperature. Meanwhile, latent heat will contribute to the moisture content. For example, conduction, solar radiation, lighting, and mechanical devices only contribute to the sensible heat factors. Meanwhile, infiltration, ventilation, and occupants will contribute to the sensible heat and latent heat. Infiltration and ventilation contributing to the latent heat due to the outside air. In our previous discussion, we know that atmospheric air is having moisture content. Meanwhile, occupants contributing to the latent heat due to the breathing and perspiration process. For electric and electrical equipments, definitely it will contribute to the sensible heat. However, the latent heat factors will be depends on the type of equipments. Therefore, HVAC technicians or designers must take into account all sources of heat gain to accurately estimate the cooling load requirement. Other factors that by influencing the building cooling load are building orientation with respect to the sun, type of usage and activities, and construction material. For building orientation, the heat gain is come from the conduction and solar radiation from the sunlight exposure, which is the main contributors to the space heat gain. The type of usage for the space will indicate the level of activities by the occupants. Note that more heat will be generated by heavy activities. For the construction materials, we need to identify the materials for the walls, door, glass, ceilings, and floors. This is due to different materials are having different thermal conductivity values.